Hi, everyone. This is the working group serving meeting today, 26th of February, 2025. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded after the call. Please remember that this meeting is being recorded and we need to abide to the CNCF guidelines and treat each other well and build a community together. So with that said, let's start. Anyone want to start with the workstream updates? Yes, going once, going twice. No workstream updates. Sub-project updates. I see Kellen is around here, or anyone wants to start?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we're just working away. Yeah, taking a look at all the new info we have and just continuing progress. No big updates.
Thank you. Okay, Jason just typed something there. Jason, you wanna?
Yeah, I think still some review time for the CLI tool. I think 2 weeks ago we went over it. Definitely would appreciate feedback on this. So if people have time to take a look, that'd be great.
I will. I've been trying to drop some reviews on the inference perf, mostly. Ashok?
Yeah. So we have the VLLM client being the first model server client that we are adding. The PR is out, and we also created a bunch of open issues for other things to be added. So yeah, anyone is interested, please take a look at those one, and yeah, feel free to send out PRs.
Thank you. Anyone has questions for the sub-project updates we just heard? Going once, going twice. For everyone, the 2024 report is still waiting for looks good to me from talk leaders. So if you want to drop any reviews or mention something that we forgot to add to the 2024 report, it's still time for it. You can find the links in the previous days. Here it is. So in the annual report, open topics, you can see it is still waiting for looks good to me. But aside from that, Clayton, you want to take it over?
Can anybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Sorry. So yeah, so I one topic I wanted to raise would be like we have some of the sub projects have connection points to other OSS projects, like gateways kind of in Cube, but VLLM, and like in some of the inference or the benchmarking stuff, there's some connections. Do we want to do something more than what we're doing today to outreach and interlock with some of those key communities? I think one of the successful lessons of Kubernetes was going and engaging with other lower level OSS projects. And so like from serving perspective, there are so many other players in this space. I don't think making everybody come to our meeting to have some of those discussions is appropriate, but I did wonder whether it'd be useful for us to maybe take a maybe work stream by work stream or sub-project by sub-project approach to identify tier OSS communities and actively make an attempt for to attend and to pay attention to what's happening in those communities to bring things back. Kind of like the first phase of working group serving was what can we concretely do? Let's get some first round of feedback. We've got some sub projects. if we think about 2025 as a new year, what are some of the things that we would do differently this year rather than versus last year to continue to drive requirements, not just from within the Kubernetes ecosystem and those who find working group serving, but go out and actually do more to pull requirements in.
Well, it's shame we don't have Terry today, but one community that would be nice to have like a full bridge into it would be the K-Serve, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah.
And we've definitely engaged. Last year we did that reach out. Like maybe I think about this as like kind of like peer to the state of the project, which would be as we look for kind of that next set of projects, next set of problems. How do we frame the effort to come up with a set of serving problems? Like I don't think that we've solved all the serving problems. Instead, we've kind of got some concrete things that we're trying to solicit that next stage. And maybe this is also a bridge into what can we do better above and beyond what we're doing today. Maybe this is kind of an ask for the let's start with the sub project leads, and maybe for each sub project identify those like key ecosystems. I can start a doc and look at that. I do think I'm kind of looking towards that next set of problems. So I'm thinking both about how we engage with within this group, but also others. And I'd certainly be open if there's others who want to participate to drive more engagement. I mean, I think Eduardo, like for instance, you've been like a great representative into the NVIDIA projects, and Jiajin, obviously with ByteDance and AI Bricks and VLLM has made like concrete efforts. Are we doing enough to go and look for projects that have some of that reach out?
Yeah, like I can share also someone in vacation. Wow, two chairs in vacations. So with Sergey, I have been meeting regularly to discuss how can we make DRA better for serving. And recently, like the last 2 or 3 meetings have been focused on error handling. So we for sure will have something to share here maybe in 2 or 3 weeks as we work through a couple of ideas on error handling, and not just for DRA itself, right? Like, but the whole like error handling for GPU nodes. So that's something I have been doing, and like Sergey has been very mindful of not being just a Googler, but like keeping it like cloud agnostic in such a way that all clouds could benefit of a better GPU health reporting. So that's something we are working on, and hopefully we will have something to share soon. Yeah, go ahead.
I can leave some comments. I recently noticed like a lot of like inference or serving systems actually need to do a lot of like optimizations or hooks inside the engine. I think that's the most critical part for the different system to interact with. A lot of like I think even companies, they have the like the inference teams and the infrastructure team, right? And some key challenges for let's use a work stream as an example, like the even DRA or auto scaling. I think the key problem now, I think people feel is probably is better to solve in the engine side. For example, exposing the most accurate metrics from the engine side, and then probably leverage the existing Kubernetes infrastructure to do the auto scaling. That's one direction of the innovation, right? Coming up more like insight for like metrics inside the engine, and the DRA also have similar situation. Even the infrastructure team, we can expose such flexible allocation or resource allocation plans. But the key thing is how engine can leverage such features. It probably has to do some if it, for example, efficiently manage the memory layouts inside the engine. For example, give up the page attention and use some other allocation way, memory allocation way, to better align with the DRA, which can share the the GPU in MIG way, etc. So a lot of I think the the change is driven by the engine change. Even like multi-host, people talk about. I think SGLong by default they adopt the touch distributed way to do it. Then I think leader workers and can easily support it. And in VLM recently, people raised originally the distributed runtime is written in Ray, and people now say, okay, I don't want to use Ray. I probably need to change back to touch illustrated. And only with that kind of the motivation, and then the underneath the infrastructures can make some adaptation. And the other big problem is the PD disaggregation, right? And it has to introduce the router, then it fully change the orchestration way. So if we look back to those work streams, seems the main the driven part is the engine itself, which makes the I kind of feel is the infrastructure set cannot evolve independently that easily. So that's why I think sometimes if we talk about how to make it better, I agree with Clayton's point. It has to be more engaged with other communities, especially the engine side, to power such infrastructure features. Yeah, so that's my feeling in the past few months. Yeah.
There's a really interesting analogy to database operators. Like at the time Kubernetes was forming with stateful sets, we made a good effort to have like a decent storage and a decent orchestration primitive. And then just the reality of all of these different infrastructure systems with very different needs meant that you kind of saw the fragmentation. Like every database is special and unique and a beautiful snowflake, and even multiple people can't agree on how to operate Postgres databases because there's multiple use cases for running Postgres and different levels of expertise you want. One of the patterns that we've kind of called out previously for inference is like there's a lot of similarities across a lot of the footprint, right? Like the intuition is that a lot of people need similar things, and that it's not quite like a billion different databases all designed pre-Kubernetes. It's a lot of different, a lot of very similar engines and workloads. So we're kind of trying to lean in and partner with the engines to make them part of a bigger whole. Maybe another question would be like the bigger whole is usually one of two things. It's a larger orchestration system that uses the parts but has like a kind of a bounded scope. And then the other one is like it's part of someone's platform that they're building themselves, right? Like a larger orchestration system that's either bespoke or there's some set of requirements that they have that are different than everybody else's. So like you might be building a single workload, and if you're building 100 workloads, the thing that the person that a single workload wants is for that single workload to be really efficient, but they don't want all the complexity that managing 100 workloads would be. I feel like something that I'd really like us to look into would be, what are the commonalities across lots of platform teams while at the same time, a lot of the platform teams, part of the reason, and this is actually a little bit like the database analogy as well, is each platform team is mostly starting from scratch or from very low level primitives and building up. It, in the previous, like when Kubernetes kind of came around, we'd had like 10 years of people doing platform as a service, 10 years of people doing CI/CD with Jenkins on VMs. And so, there was kind of a built up reservoir of a lot of people agreed that there were certain patterns. We've kind of identified that we're starting to build out those patterns right now, like folks like ByteDance. I'm in touch with a fair number of platform teams that have kind of evolved. I've heard some feedback from folks who worked at Facebook that they had hundreds of inference platforms, and each inference use case historically was kind of different. And so each platform was kind of built bespoke out of like common parts. But one of the things we're kind of noticing is as models become more powerful and more general, instead of specializing building up from scratch on models, we're specializing building around some of the bigger models, right? There's more consolidation of those core components. So I feel like, some discussion that's basically what are the kinds of platforms people are building? AI Bricks, ByteDance is one example. What are some of the other examples, and can we show work together with other communities like Engine or whatever, and say you've got 5 platform consumers using you a different way. Can we get more people to collaborate? And I don't think collaborating in working group serving is the right approach in all of those, right? Because the example would be everybody come to us and we'll just solve the problem by getting you all together. I like the idea of flipping the script a little bit and going and embedding in the LLM, using AI Bricks as an example of people bringing concrete feedback about real concrete things, and then how do we find those places of convergence across multiple sets of people? And Eduardo, I think this is something as well. You got to keep us honest a little bit from the perspective of representing, or at least being a representative of seeing more of those low-level needs around hardware and how they're used, but also how they can fit into these higher level stacks, right? Ideally, we're still continue to drive requirements on Kubernetes that people need flexibility about these 5 things around hardware. We have to hold DRA accountable.
Yeah, definitely something we need to carry on. I feel like this should be a rolling discussion every meeting, and hopefully once we meet in London, this should be something that we should discuss there live.
Yeah, maybe concretely make plans for what we will discuss. What do we want to discuss in the London timeframe for those who will be there face to face? What are Jarjen and I have a keynote. We're going to talk about gateway and LLM platforms. I certainly expect there to be a lot of as we're launching some of the projects we've got going in the working group. I expect there to be interest, and we'll need to how do we build on that interest and kind of bring that feedback back in? There'll be a lot of overlap. I really do expect to trigger a bunch of interesting discussions at KubeCon. And so maybe post KubeCon as well, we'll have an opportunity to kind of review and take that public communication opportunity, both in terms of keynotes and SIG meetings and face-to-faces, and turn that into some concrete stuff. So I would definitely also be interested in partnering with folks who will be at KubeCon to work on some session and informal meetings.
Yeah, thank you, Clayton. Anyone has an extra open topic or something to add to what Clayton just said?
Nothing to add, but I will just, make myself responsible for this here. I'll take an AI to come up with maybe a short list of communities that Inference Gateway intends to get involved in, just to hold ourselves accountable, because we talked about sub projects. So happy to do that.
Thank you. There's no other topic. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you everyone, and see you next week.